Good morning, everyone. My name is Emanuela Podda, and I'm undertaking a PhD in Law, Science, and Technology at the University of Bologna, the University of Turin, and the University of Luxembourg. My research focuses on big data analysis systems in Internet of Everything environments for managing privacy and data protection. Pseudonymity, deanonymization, and the right to be forgotten are investigated as main issues posed by such technology. The main focus of the thesis is the big data analytics. Big data analytics perceived as the process aiming at conjugating several kinds of data having many properties which are not homogeneous. This process is based on the 5 V's of data, therefore relying on a volume, on a veracity, velocity, variety, and value, which are very different and diverse. The context of the research is the Internet of Everything. Internet of Everything is conceived as the network of networks connecting people to data and to things through processes. These processes create an interconnected world, connecting people to people, machine to machine, and people to machine. The big data analytics in the Internet of Everything environments poses several context issues. The thesis takes into account issues concerning privacy and data protection, namely the anonymization, pseudonymity, and right to be forgotten, trying to understanding how to unlock the potential of big data, therefore not sacrificing the data sharing and data reuses. The main object of the research is investigating the de-anonymization re-identification risk in the evolution of the proposed data policies and legislation in force. Therefore, studying the span of the de-anonymization re-identification risk in the light of the legal terminology based on 2 mutually exclusive definitions of personal and non-personal data. Based on this background, the thesis would like to determine whether data anonymity can be ensured, taking into account an objective and a subjective perspective. The objective perspective would like to inquire on the models of data processing as regulated by the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, namely anonymization, thus referring to statistical disclosure control and privacy models, and pseudonymization, therefore encryption, hashing, and tokenization. This objective perspective frames the state of the art in the evolution of these data processing models, questioning the grade of anonymity recognized by the different scientific communities, the statistical one and the computer science one. The final aim will be questioning the relation between the traditional binary categories of anonymization irreversibility and pseudonymization reversibility. The subjective perspective would like to investigate how to grant data anonymity, relying on the proliferation of roles and responsibility among stakeholders. It analyzes data governance models, focusing on the new regulation on data governance, the Data Governance Act, especially in the government-to-business data sharing models. It frames the state of the art in the evolution of the data governance concept, focusing on the new trend of balancing trust and accountability, which is compliant not only with the General Data Protection Regulation, but which is also in line with the technological development. This subjective perspective investigates whether data governance is still conceived as the management and control over data, connoted by a mere internal interest as a company task granting clarity of information. The methodology of the research is based on a legal analysis of the legal sources and the legal framework in force, but merging also a qualitative and a quantitative approach. The qualitative approach relies on a glossary collecting the meaning of the words in the legal tech legislation. Therefore, referring to the working party opinion, the European Data Protection Board, the European Data Protection Supervisor opinions, the General Data Protection Regulation definitions, and the definitions contained in the free flow data regulations, but also in the ISO standards. So using it as a main reference for assessing the technological context. Moreover, the span of the de-anonymization issue will be investigated relying on an open access publication repository, including preprints, studying the span of the issue according to several keywords, and referring to the Working Party Opinion number 5, 2014 on the anonymization techniques in the time frame between 2016 and 2022. Therefore, in the transition period before and after the entry into force of the General Data Protection Regulation. The quantitative methodology will allow to extract data collected in the open access publication repository, performing statistical analysis on the de-anonymization issue. The research aims at find a reply to the following research questions in the light of the increasing risk of de-anonymizing data, turning non-personal data into personal data. Do the two mutually exclusive definitions of personal and non-personal data relevant in tackling such a risk? This main question leads to two different sub-questions. How this semantic difference stands out in the worldwide continental jurisdiction in the research and the development of the de-anonymization techniques based on singling out linkability and inference. How the de-anonymization problem has evolved in time, and what is the correlation between time and continental jurisdictions. The second main research question is how the de-anonymization risk can be tackled from both an objective perspective, namely with reference to privacy models, statistical disclosure control and encryption, and a subjective perspective with reference to the data governance models, especially government to business. This main question leads to another sub-question. In light of the level of anonymity that data processing and data sharing can ensure, can the right to be forgotten still represent a remedy against the harmful disclosure of personal information? Here are the main bibliographic reference, and thank you.